As the official healthcare provider of Minnesota United, Allina Health is dedicated to delivering pro-level care for our loons. But the partnership goes much deeper than what happens on the field. From our shared support of youth-focused nonprofits like Roots for the Home Team, to championing programs for adaptive athletes with the MNUFC Power Soccer Team, Allina Health and Minnesota United are committed to providing an altogether better experience for Loons fans. Learn more at allinahealth.org/loons. Welcome back to, I'm going to say this is my favorite episode by far. We haven't even recorded it yet, of Sound of the Loons podcast brought to you by Allina Health. I am your host, Zarek Valentine, and I am here with arguably one of the biggest stars in U.S. women's national team history. No introduction is needed. Please welcome Crystal Dunn to the show.
Hey.
Fun fact, by the way, I was speaking to our staff here in Vancouver as we have a game tonight against the Whitecaps. I said, I'm having Crystal Dunn on the podcast. And one of our videographers was like, and he goes, "This is my favorite player. My favorite player."
Great.
Yeah. So shout out to James Robbins, one of our video analysts. You are his favorite player. Started immediately going into your career path, history, games played, all these moments, and I was sitting there going, I need to take all this information and bring it to the pod. But again, you have a very special heart, or a very special place already in the heart of some people here in Minnesota.
Awesome. That means a lot. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on the program. We're initially first going to talk about some stuff here in Minnesota, some games, go into what you're doing now. But first off, what's it like enjoying the nice warm weather in Minnesota? Because it got warm probably last week.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. Stepping off the plane, you never know what to expect in Minnesota. I know it gets really cold here. So I was quite pleased to know that, the temperatures are pretty high. And it's been a great training week already. So
that's great. What's our facility been like? For those who may not know, you guys train all over the country. Kansas City, you're in Los Angeles, you're in Florida, you're in New Jersey. What's it like coming to Minnesota? Does it have any sort of special place in your heart or good experience or something you can pull from? I know with Lindsay, her husband, I believe, is from Minnesota. So there might be some connections there. But do you have any sort of special link or feelings towards Minnesota?
Yeah, well, we've actually been here, I think now like at least 3 times. I'm pretty sure when the stadium first opened up, we were one of the first teams to kind of like play in the newly built stadium at the time. So I do feel like we are very honored to be back here again. I think it was really great that we were able to be one of the first teams to kind of play in the stadium. And I think being back, we definitely can tell that there's such a soccer hub and, an incredible fan base that really supports the community here. And we have had the privilege of being here only like 2 or 3 days now, and we've trained in the stadium, and we've also been able to train at the facility. And it's been great, honestly. Everything, the resources, the staff, everyone has been so welcoming. And like I said, I can tell that there is such a love of the game here and such an incredible fan base.
Yeah, and I think I echo that. I got here in 2023, and it's kind of not your typical fan base in the sense that everyone hears the glitz and glam of some of the bigger markets, right? But then it really has this passionate soccer fan base, and I think that's shown for our Loons. And I know whenever the women's national team comes and whenever the men's national team has had the pleasure of being here, it's hosting a Gold Cup game. So there's this kind of this niche, if you know type of fan base that is here. And you've gotten to experience it a few times, but most recently you experienced it in a 3-0 win against South Korea, where you were the first person on the score sheet. If you can take us back into what I believe was the last camp leading into the Olympics back in 2024.
Yeah. That was obviously, crazy times because it was Emma's first camp. And it was one of our last camps going into the Olympics. And we played South Korea twice. The first time before was in Denver. And then the second leg was in Minnesota. And yes, I was able to get on the score sheet. I think I was listed as a forward at this time. And
Shoot or
yes.
shoot.
And
Doesn't matter.
so it's always fun to score, and it's great. Obviously, I don't take that for granted ever whenever I get to play in the front line or get forward in the attack. I think, it's just incredible to obviously represent this team. And obviously, like I said, to get on the score sheet.
Does scoring get old? Because I didn't do it enough for it to get old. I talked to Tani Oluwaseyi, who's one of my teammates, and he was saying he still is in the process of kind of getting over the hump of not being surprised, right? Like you hope to score, but whenever you see defenders score, we lose our composure. I've done knee slides, I've fallen.
You have to.
Yeah, but so is it something where you are still? Is it still you still get the same rush?
I mean, I'm always ecstatic to score. Like, it does not happen a lot. I've been this player that plays everywhere on the pitch. So it's not like I'm a true striker. So when I score, I'm like, yeah, I'm about to act like this is the greatest thing ever, because who knows when I'm going to get another opportunity to do this again. So yes, by all means, knee sliding, running to the corner flag, like everything, all fair game, especially if, you don't do it all the time.
Of course. And you've obviously been known for just playing in multiple different positions. And we don't need to go into that because in my opinion, everyone always like, what's like playing outside back? And then you're a winger and then you're a forward. But is there just like a way in which you just have a certain mindset? Because that's the one thing you can keep consistent, right? There's the way you approach games. So that I would imagine is the same no matter where even when if you go in goal, it's just kind of business as usual and you kind of pretty much go out there and just handle whatever you can to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, I mean, I really had to learn to really love my soccer journey. I think for a long time I was like, man, I just want to play in one position. I don't get it. Why am I that player that is yanked and pulled and put in so many different roles? It took a long time to really just love that part about my game. And I think I find myself now just embracing it. I think I've traditionally been an outside back for the national team. Like if they ever were to need me up top, I'm like, cool, I'm going to play it to my best ability. We'll see how it goes. But, to me, it's trying to really just simplify the game. I think wherever you are on the pitch, it's soccer. You're trying to connect with your teammates. You're trying to put yourself in the best position to create chances and open up space for other players. So it's really just simplifying the game and kind of finding your own touch in that position, because you can never really compare yourself to another player. Like if I were to ever to play in a different role, I'm not going to say Crystal Dunn needs to be, playing like another player, expected to play the same way as somebody else. So it's kind of just fine tuning your own game and just embracing what it is that you bring to the team.
Yeah, that's really well said. I've done it on a much smaller scale where I've played left and right back, and there's obviously some intricacies in terms of sides and stuff like that. But kind of just being able to play on the wings either side is really a credit to you and a credit to like just your footballing journey, right? You're from a younger player, now you're one of the veterans, and you've kind of just become more and more secure in your game. So it's almost like you probably don't even think about it as much. You just kind of see where you're at in the team sheet, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm going to be here today.
I'm finally happy to be kind of mainly in one position, I will say. Like I said, if I'm ever yanked and put into another role, okay. But it's nice to just look and be like, okay, Crystal, left back.
There you go. But in terms of settling into your position on the team and settling into, I would say, your role within the team, how have you felt your role change from being young up and coming breakout star to suddenly now you are the vet of vets? You are the beacon of probably the person first to put your arm around someone when they need to have a chat. You're the first person to kick someone in the butt when they have to do better. Then you're the first person to praise them once they do the good things. Is that something that you enjoyed? Some people are quieter veterans, but you seem to have a lot of personality, which I really, it takes after my own heart.
Yeah. I mean, I think, my earliest journey onto this team, young player, just trying to stay afloat, just learn from other vets and really just learn what it is to be a true professional, and being in and around the U.S. Women's National Team was definitely a hard spell because everything felt so new and also felt so uncomfortable. They always say like, if you're uncomfortable, it's a good thing. But I was like, is this the level of uncomfortable that is okay though? And then, fast forward to kind of where I am now, I feel like, one, I don't know how I became the oldest player on this team. I'm like, time must have flown so fast because I'm having so much fun. But I like to lead in the way that I think is most authentic, which is showing people that I'm human. I think it's important that leaders on this team, hold the standard, but that at the same time, like we show people that we also make mistakes. And so I think leading myself first is the surest way that I gain respect for my teammates, to be able to lead them, especially in and around major tournaments and things like that. But I think it starts with also, getting to know your teammates. I'm a big believer in, asking people about their family, their interests, and getting to know them off the field, because, on the field, it doesn't always translate when you haven't invested in your teammates to even know anything about them. And so I think for me, it's, I've never truly worn a captain's band on a team. And I think I honestly still love the fact that you could be a leader without it. And you want to almost encourage everyone to feel like they're a leader on the team, So that's another thing that I like to do, is also like tell the young players, like, yeah, you're young, but you gotta, if you're playing massive minutes and you're a big player on this team, like you gotta learn how to also lead in your own way, regardless of where you are in your journey.
There's, first off, hashtag retweet, whatever the kids these days say, because I echo a lot of those sentiments, in terms of getting to know your teammates on a different level, because it gives you a different sense of connection. And I've always felt that allows you now to have more difficult conversations, right? It's easy to kind of nitpick certain moments with, hey, you could have covered here. Hey, you should have taken the shot. Hey, you should have blocked the shot. But I find that you can actually connect better when you have those deeper connections, when it shows that I care about you more as a person and your family and your kids, as opposed to like, let's just go out there and get 3 points, or let's go out there and try to win a game. So that for me really resonated. And then there's a few other points that I got to touch on. One, you've never one of the captains of your team. You've always, you're a leader, whether you are a new fan and you watch the game and you tune in and you see personalities on the pitch, the way people carry themselves, they'd go, oh yeah, that's her, Crystal Dunn right there. She's one of the people. You've never been like that?
I mean, I've worn it if the captain of the team is not on the field. So like I've technically captained a couple of games on the national team. Yes. But I think like, for whatever reason, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not the captain of a team, and that's okay. Like, I still feel generally so revved up to be a leader. Like, I've never shied away from being a leader because I wasn't that person chosen to be a captain. I think that's what's really great about especially team sports, is you're not really relying on one person. You're relying on everyone to be able to lead themselves, and, to have a team of leaders, I think is something that I've always felt were consistent with all the teams I've been on that have been the most successful, is like making sure that everyone is actually up to par and raising the standards, and not waiting for someone else to say like, hey, come on, you got to do this better. Like, so it's been, I've played on some really amazing teams, and a lot of them have definitely had a lot of leaders across different parts of their journey.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because that was not in my bingo card for this conversation. But it's almost like you're a leader's leader. You're the rapper's rapper, right? You're the push a team.
I'm the hype person, like I'm hyping everybody up, make sure everyone's dialed and ready to go, and also like feeling a little loose before training and not taking things too seriously. So like, yeah, that's my vibe.
At Target, we're ready to cheer with the hometown fans and gear you up for an epic season. Whether watching from the stands or your living room, score big on game day with everything you need for the win. We're here to be your home field advantage at Target and Target.com. That's what makes successful teams. Is everyone has any successful team I've been on or seen, when you have conversations, there's always that person that can balance having the tough conversation. I say you're almost like the emotional janitor at times, because when people verbal diarrhea, you got to mop it up and try to help them out during tough situations. And then you also have to keep it light, because sports is also stressful. Like especially you guys have so much pressure internally, externally, you need to have some sort of release valve. And it seems like you might be your team's release valve in some of these tough moments, because you've been there. You've been through the highest of highs and you've been through some lows, but you seem to kind of be able to manage that. And is that something that you're actually thinking about, or is it just you're just so again, we've talked about being so comfortable in your role and being just confident in yourself. That's just, you just go about it and it's just how you are. And that's why you've been a mainstay for the majority of your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think personality wise, I've always been, pretty outgoing. I, love music. I love to dance. I love locker room vibes. I think even when I was really young on this team, I still felt like that was my contribution, was like trying to show my personality even at the earliest stages on this team. And yeah, I think sports is really stressful. But I try to remind myself and others, like, what we do is fun. Yes, it's our job. It's going to come with a level of stress and criticism and critique. But at the same time, like, you're playing a sport for a living, and it's really incredible to be able to say that you've reached this level in your sport. And, I always try to keep things as light as possible.
And I think that's important. And obviously having a family is another easy reminder of that, right? Being a mom,
Yeah.
having outside reminders that aren't just, you're not absolved in looking at your phone and being obsessed with doing this. You have other obligations that will really quickly humble you. And then how's it been managing just life? I mean, I don't know if, I've been seeing these Instagram things where it's the Meghan Markle one where it's like, how are you?
Yeah, yeah.
But like,
No, I mean, it's a lot. Like, obviously balancing motherhood and career is not something that's like so extremely easy, but I think being a mom while playing soccer has kept me so humbled and grounded and well balanced in so many ways, because yeah, I'm not as stressed about half the things that I used to stress about when I was in my like early 20s, like an off training, a bad game. Like, I still care about those things, but now I go home to a kid that like could care less if I played well or not. There's been some sometimes we play games at, like noon or like 3 p.m. where after the game you like have the whole day still, to hang out and do whatever. And I've come home so many days and I'm like exhausted on the couch, and my son's like, play with me. And I'm like, your mom just ran around, had a game, and you just clearly don't know that, and they don't care. And it's a really great reminder that there's something so much bigger than the sport that we play. And obviously while I'm playing, I'm going to enjoy every bit of it while I still can, but it's so great to just be a parent along the way.
Yeah, we can get very, I would say, absorbed
Yeah.
by the footballing soccer community because it's everywhere. There's media. There's, we're very fortunate to you are doing, but I've done a job that's on display. With that comes a lot of things. And then suddenly you get so caught up in it at times. And you go back and your kid or Cam is like, Dad, like, let's just go do this. Let's go play blocks with monster trucks. And you're like, well, whoa, this is a lot different. Then what's Crystal the mom like? Take us, if we can go behind that curtain.
Crystal the mom. Stepping on a lot of Legos. It is Lego land up in here, and it's not that fun, but I'm really like laxed as a parent. I know that sounds like kind of crazy, but like I'm definitely that kind of mom that's like, let the kid be outside, let him, climb things, obviously be there in case they fall, but like very much, trying to teach my child that like I want them to be curious. I want them to be adventurous. I want him to first and foremost play outside a lot. I know we're in a new era where a lot of kids like to watch TV and play video games and stay inside. And I'm very like, let's go to the park. Let's be outside and just, be active. And my son just had his 3rd birthday party. And I was fortunate to sneak it in right before camp. And it was in our backyard and there was tons of kids, and just seeing my son just like climbing things and being so confident in like, just his like physique and his physical ability to like climb things. I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. Like, so that's Crystal the mom. I'm just like rooting my son on and everything that he does, and just, having fun with it.
That's awesome. It's the best. Yeah, I almost use playing with my son as an excuse to be less on technology and stuff, right? It's like, no, I want to engulf myself in the moment and go into the park doing this, because selfishly it gets me off of technology, because at this point everyone has a phone and arm.
Yes.
But if we can fully dive into our kids and give them a piece of ourselves, I think that it's, I saw a statistic somewhere that I think parents these days are spending 50 to 60 times more time with their children than we got with our parents, because maybe it's that way, it's a conscious decision or not, but I can echo every sentiment in terms of just wanting to be there. But in terms of your family's now going to be doing a move. or at least partially.
Partially,
You'll be
yes.
going, yes, you'll be going to PSG, which,
I'm there already.
oh, you're there.
Yeah,
When?
well, I signed in January, so you didn't
Yes.
miss very much. I basically had a 3.5 month spell with them so far.
Yes. Okay. So now please take us in. What is life like across the pond?
Yeah, I mean, so France is, I mean, I've had a lot of history with France. I won the 2019 World Cup there. I just won the Olympics there last year, and my husband's French, so that's a big part too.
For those who don't know.
So so France is like a pretty special place for me. Paris alone, I've had a lot of success specifically in and around that city, and playing for PSG has been a really great experience so far. I've only been there for a little bit, but I'm enjoying learning the language. It's been an important part of me really emerging into the French culture is learning the language. I'm learning also just how to challenge myself in a different way. Like you're learning a different league, you're in and around new teammates. And, with all that change, you have to grow, you have to adapt. And I think naturally at first it's like, oh, it's a little uncomfortable. Like I don't speak the language. My teammates are brand new. But, a couple weeks in, I was like, this is my home. This is my new environment. And it's been really, really great.
That's awesome. I know with new teams, you have to go in and obviously prove yourself on the pitch,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously isn't much difficulty with yourself, but that, and then just, is it how French is the locker room? Because I know France itself is very French, but in terms of the locker room, is it 90%, 75, 50? Where does that fall? Or
Yeah,
English or communication wise, what's that like navigating
we
now a new locker room?
We do have a lot of internationals, but we have a lot of internationals that have been there for so long that they are fluent in French. So I'll still consider them internationals, but we have two Polish players that speak fluent French. We have a Dutch player that is fluent in French. And then there's a couple of internationals that, a couple Americans and a couple of other Dutch players. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's 50-50, but maybe 60-40-ish kind of. So a lot of French is being spoken. It's all in French. There's no English. When we go over our drills for the day, in French. When we go over game plans and team meetings, it's all in French. So it's really challenging me to say, like, listen, you got to learn the language. You can't just skate by kind of acting like but not fully knowing what is being said. So, but once you're in there and you're living that day to day, you pick it up pretty easy.
So then your husband must be loving the fact that now instead this is a very clear way. It's not like, hey, honey, let's take classes. It's like, no problem, just go to work.
But it's hard because like he's fluent. So whenever he comes to visit, he's just like ordering everything for me in French. And I just kind of sit there and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. And now I don't have to use my broken 1% French that I know because you're here to order for me and do all these things for me. So he has to stay away in order for me to really, really get dialed.
Sure. And then you were in NWSL forever. We were together in Portland for a little bit, then you went to Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your career is much longer than that. But what's it like now finally playing in a different league and different competitions? And now you're in Champions League. And now, is that a different feel? Is that a different competition level, different vibes? Take us into that a little bit before we wrap up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've spent a lot of my career, pretty much most of it in the NWSL. I've won Golden Boot, MVP. I've won 3 championships, 3 league shields. So I know it sounds crazy. It's all to say that like, I am so proud of what I've been able to accomplish in the NWSL. And I think, when I was deciding to make a new change and move away from my last club, I felt like it would have been easy to kind of stay in the NWSL because I'm like, why not? Like, this is my home. This is the league that I know most. And, for me, I was like, but what a cool experience it is at this stage in my career to have this opportunity to go play overseas one last time. It's not anything that I ever thought was on the horizon, but here I am. And I actually am so happy with the decision. I think if I played anywhere outside of Gotham, everywhere would have felt like distance from my family. I'm from New York. So to me, I was like, if I'm going to be doing distance a little bit, I could be in Europe. That could be okay. And so I'm happy with the move. I've only been there for a little bit, but I've learned so much and I feel like I've got my footing in it. And I just, it's a different pace of life and it's a different completely experience, even outside of soccer. I mean, it's Europe. Like it's so vastly different in so many ways than especially New York City. So yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did didn't have the opportunity to go play for PSG at 30 something. For some reason, I wasn't on their radar when they were scouting really aging outside backs. But that's awesome how you're having that opportunity. I was fortunate enough to go to Paris with my wife a few summers ago when I was playing in Norway, and we absolutely loved it. But it's been amazing. First off, thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask you one parting question before we head out here. What's been your favorite adaptation to the Parisian lifestyle? Just, I know Paris is a different beast than Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, but what's just been something where you're like, this is it. This is awesome.
Oof. Oh,
I mean,
man.
if you could pick one thing, it's a big question.
Yeah, I think for me, just like going to a coffee shop and eating croissants. I know that sounds so cliche, but like I love croissants, and it's like almost like I was meant to just like be living in France, because like my son eats like 5 in one day. Like he's just like chomping croissants down. I also love it. But I just think in general, like the lifestyle outside of soccer has been like really amazing to kind of step into. It's just like the pace of life. People just look like they're kind of like chilling, you know? They're just like, I don't know if people have anywhere to be, but they're just like kind of sitting outside. It's now summertime. So like people are just kind of relaxing with their coffee outside on like a patio overlooking beautiful view of Paris. And it's just like, this is really incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're in New York and you're in Manhattan, it's fast. It's hustle and bustle. It's work. We're going here. I got to stop real quick, bite to eat on the way.
On the go.
In Paris, they almost try to slow life down, like joie de vivre. I'm sure you've heard bajillion times, but it's like, let's go to a coffee shop. And it's like, in America, it'd be like, cool, we're going to have a coffee, but we have this at 3 or 4 o'clock. They're like, we can go to the coffee shop and we might be there till 6.
Yes.
And they work to live in Paris. And in America, we live
to work.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And you're living that. And I would say I'm happy you get to experience that at the end of your career, because you accomplished so much. And now you get to go to a place where you get to play good football for a world-renowned club. And then outside the pitch, you get to just go hang out with your family and live a great lifestyle. Like that's you deserve that. And that's awesome.
And I get to experience Champions League, which as an American, you kind of like go overseas and you're like, wow, like this is really incredible to be able to kind of experience this, you know? So it's a big one too.
Do you wink into the camera when they go by as you're standing there? And
no, but like, honestly, I should, because it's really cool when people do that, or they do some sort of something like in the camera. Yeah. It's
a little bit of something, but thank you so much for joining us this week on this episode of Sound of Loons, brought to you by Line of Health. I hope everyone goes out and watches you and the team go kick butt against China. I know that it's going to hopefully be a packed stadium. Actually, not even hopefully. It's Minnesota. It's going to be a packed stadium. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Hopefully you guys can go out there. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to stop in. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.